So I suppose I first came across u.lab in the Out of the Blue event that we ran with Skilled Workers, Skilled Citizens Forum. And we just joined that with a view to recovery from addiction meeting the world. So people in recovery meeting people in different perspectives. So that was the start of us starting to move out of our little own world, which we quite like, you know what I mean? So let's see what the rest of the world looks like. And that conversation was amazing. But at the end of that, a group of people got together and they sat in the bottom of the room and they were so intensely engaged with each other. And I said to my co-host, who are they? And they said, oh, they're the u.labers. I'm going, what's that? Anyway, that was my first sight of people doing the u.lab. Intense group of people sitting late after an event, talking and looking like they were enjoying themselves. Go figure. So later on, some board members and I were looking to host a different type of recovery event, deeper thinking, trying to tie in with some of the bigger trends in public thought, like the fifth wave in public health and Harry Burns' stuff on population well-being. So we were interested in that as well as flourishing. And somebody said, have you thought, and we got the letter from Kenneth about the u.lab, and I thought, right, these guys seem okay. We were curious, so we all went team-handed as a board, you know, so we were mob-handed at the events, and we were wildly excited. And we came back to the board meeting and tried to tell the rest of the board members about it, and we were incoherent. We were like, it's like blah, 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 blah. And they went, oh, whatever, just shut up and do it. So we did shut up and do it, and our first experiences of it were like that high energy last year. We were all high energy and we had 2 hubs, and I just completely got the study. Our intention last year, our shared goal for the hub was somehow the whole world needs recovery, and somehow we have to give it.
Someone's got to do it.
It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. And we were delighted. And actually what's happened is that intention we held lightly, but what's happened is we are much more in connection with the world. Now, a year later, our entire organisation is shifting its access towards direct relationship with the public. Now, we wouldn't have done that if we hadn't done u.lab. We would have stayed moving out from our little safe space out slowly. But the whole u.lab thing has brought us into contact that we've something to offer the whole, which we always knew, but also there are people in the whole community who really get us without much explanation. You know, I don't want to explain myself from the get-go, but they really get asset-based, who really are positive, who really see the value of the lived experience of recovery from addiction and what it brings to the whole community. We used them for this because there's about, I think there's about 4 of our board members have been through u.lab and are tuned in, and they were all on this working group for this event. So we used it to have these deadly serious conversations. So we're going to have a series of deadly serious conversations. And this one we were tackling death from substance misuse. And we'd invited a hand-picked group of people in here using u.lab tools, so using deep listening, using empathy dialogue, and using, I suppose, like a strung-out coaching circle format to look at the question of, can we surface something else that might help us with this difficulty we've got around death from substance misuse, which are escalating. And so we've got some really, well, this is the graphic facilitation for the event, and it really surfaced, I mean, the bottom of it is surfaced that we need a lot more compassion, and we need to include actively performing drug users in the circle of our concern without requesting that they give up. And that was really new for me. That was a new perspective. So in terms of that, using the tools to surface the margins, stuff from the margins, and bring in people from the furthest margins, I just thought, yeah, I've always made it conditional, and I didn't realise I'd done it. Of course they want to be given up. Well, some people don't. And does that leave them out the circle of policy concern? No, it doesn't. Does that leave them out not having a voice? No, it doesn't. I wouldn't think that of prisoners, and I wouldn't think of people who are in residential care, so why do I think about people like that? So that was really moving, actually. So we don't know what will happen with this, but And we're still got to process it. It was, as I say, it was an experiment, but it worked really well.
What range of people were involved?
Senior policymakers. I'm talking really senior people who are involved in creating policy around this. Okay. So we've got some of them, top medical pharmacists. I mean, and people from the community. So it was a wide margin. So it's like that, quite spread out. Yeah. And they worked beautifully together, and it's lovely watching when you structure an event using the tools and using the you. It's like you're creating a space where a natural human creativity can emerge. So you're listening, observing, noticing. You're not trying to fix it. By not trying to fix it, you get to the bottom of the you, and just breathing into that bottom of that powerlessness or whatever it is, where you don't know if you've got an answer, you've not, and then something happens, something magical and alchemical happens, and this new idea comes out of it. Yeah, but not to, what I would say normally happens in events is we don't go down far enough. Okay. We skip across, we can't bear the discomfort, so we skip across to a solution. And most of the people who came through back, it was really good, they enjoyed the different format. They said it was really good to discipline us into listening to each other and not debating and not even dialoguing, just actually listen in silence and take it in, and taking each other in as human beings first. And what really matters to them about this issue allowed us to bring a broader range of that human into the dialogue and surface, who'd have thought, compassion is the answer, compassion. I told them it was an experiment, which is always good to let them know, and I gave them the headlines of the experiment before they came. And they have a great bit of faith in us, so they're expecting something different from us. So they knew that, and it was, so they had all of that, and we were very respectful of their autonomy and their individualhood. So we didn't make people do things. They did. There was lots of journaling, and there was, we used the journaling tools, and we staged it, but people were completely moved by it. So the feedback we got was that was completely different, and oh my God, how did we get into that conversation? And, just imagine if we could sit down and have these conversations, what couldn't we do? And it was just that, and so moved, inspired, creatively charged. And last week, some of us that were in that conversation, this week, some of us that were in that conversation were in a different policy event. And watching all three of us that were there coming from this perspective of, can we bring that voice into the room? And actually that had gone in quite deeply. Can we bring this voice in, as well as all the other voices? So something might be happening. That conversation about deaths from substance misuse has been run endlessly an amount of times. And in my opinion, it gets stuck on looking for a fix. And I think only something as big as u.lab, maybe there's other tools, but that I know of, can hold the not fixing it in order to get to the systemic underneath. This is deaths from substance misuse are a wicked problem in the true technical sense. They cannot be fixed by fixing, like a broken leg, we'll put a plaster on. You cannot do it like that. It's a heart attack. It's a total lifestyle change. And for us, it's a total culture change, which may include changing drug laws, it may include changing our levels of willingness to engage with each other, but it also includes changing our ability to connect with each other. Because it seems to me that the people who die from substance misuses, alcohol, drugs, COPD, they're the canaries in the mine. There's a level of distress going on in this culture that we can't ignore, and it needs a broader whole cultural response. But there's been something, it's in a sense, it's something that we already had, and we've been constantly prototyping with that. So, but the latest version, which we started to go to the public, we hadn't thought of before. So how we got to it was recognising that there's a whole body of wisdom and experience in the recovery community, and a whole body of learning and growing that we need to do in order to stay in recovery, that's more than what you get out of treatment and more than can be expected out of a self-help group. So there's some things that people need, and that's things like understanding relationships, codependency, developing your practices for well-being at a deeper level. And so we set up these courses, and I do a course, believe it or not, for a nun in romantic relationships and recovery, which takes all the research about people's relationship capacities and the experiences that people have, and helps understand. So we're trying to help people get from early recovery into sustainable recovery. So that was the vision of it, by using the wisdom of the community more deeply, and to offer a space for that. And so we started to do that, and that worked really well, and we could have kept on doing that until somebody said, doesn't everybody need recovery? And these are great courses, and that intention that we had at the u.lab was that we discovered that the whole world needs something from this, and we are the margins, and the margins have done a journey, and maybe the whole needs that. And so that was when we thought, oh, maybe we should open this out. And so the next platform was that we did two things. We wanted it to be self-sustaining, which came out of u.lab, because up until then it'd be like, I couldn't afford it to expand because I kept paying for everything out of our budget, and we don't have the budget to do that. One set of books for a codependency weekend is £1,000 over the year. I thought, I don't have £1,000 every year, and I can't expand it. So we thought, well, for this model to expand, we need to create self-sustaining. So we brought the tutors in and said, how can we make this self-sustaining? Well, we said, everybody will chip in. So that was from the service-based stuff. People will just chip in, and they do. Mm-hmm. So each course is self-sustaining, and each tutor now does their own publicity as well as the publicity on the platform. So they extend it. So that was the prototype that came out of that, and we opened it up. And so this year it's continuing to develop, so we're on the next prototype. So the next prototype is that the tutors are now going into branding, and we're connecting with the Firestarter Festival, so we're going to launch the university on that educational platform. So it's a relaunch there, and we're going to do a bit of a tour up the East Coast with public events of like lecture nights instead of weekend courses. There's a lecture night, and so it's a night out for thoughtful people. So that's the next prototype. So it keeps going, because we have this idea that you only need to have graduated from the School of Hard Knocks to come to the University of Life. We don't care what you suffered from. Life is hard enough. And so it's help for that. And that's what we'd like. So we'd like this to survive without us. It becomes a thing. So that's ongoing. The organisation is changing. I've said that we're looking at new outcomes. We're looking at new focus. We're looking at new relationships. A whole area of public life in Scotland is open to us now that wasn't before. And that we would never have had the courage to go direct to the public with some of the stuff that we talk about. So that's different. For me, I listen so much better. I'm really inspired by what he said in the last live session, what Otto said in the last live session, which was, you need to become a black belt listener. And at the moment, I think I'm on one of those early, the wee green ones that you get. I'm certainly past the one you get just to keep your robe shut, but I'm developing. And I just see it more and more, and I'm still continuing to do that listening exercise until the live session, because it focuses me on reflecting. So I have to say I'm listening a lot better, and my work and relationships are better for it. Now, without my u.lab friends, I would have never have asked the First Minister to do a proclamation on recovery. And she did. I would never have had the courage or the know-how. So I phoned, I had the idea, I went, oh, that's mad. Somebody said, it's not mad, do it. We did it, she signed it, we have it. That's having a global effect. We had an Irish delegation come over here who'd got Nicola's proclamation on recovery, and it had inspired them to develop recovery-orientated systems a bit more. So, yeah.